We are Legion.
What is up, comic fam, and welcome to the Legion of Comics. It's Sunday night. That means this is at week's end, the spoiler-filled look back at this weekend of comics and so much more. And tonight we're going to be breaking down and spoiling the hell out of Eternals. But before we get into any of that, check this out. Give a shout out to the channel sponsor, Big Time Collectibles. If you're in the market for any retailer exclusives, high-end ratios, or FOC orders, be sure to check out BigTimeCollectibles.com. They are the sponsor of the monthly Legion loot box, which we'll be giving the first one away tonight. So definitely stick around for that. Also, Justin's Comics over on Instagram. If you're looking to get anything cleaned or pressed, he's the man for the job. For as little as $10 a book, he can get taken care of. You can also submit directly to CGC and CBCS. Be sure to use promo code WeAreLegion. All right, Nick, you've been itching to show off the old English.
I didn't know you guys could see me. It's empty, too.
Empty. So I can see everybody in the panel down below. Nick wasn't knowing when I was going to be coming. And one thing after another, I was rolling through the timers, the intro, the sponsors. Every time we get toward the end of it, the bottle would go back up. That was the source of your pain during Free Key Louis' last show, right?
I drank 42 ounces of Old English malt liquor in about 30 minutes.
That was the first time you've done that in how long?
I haven't drank in probably 8 years. And coincidentally, the last time I drank, I did 8 shots of tequila in about the same amount of time.
Oh, my God.
Now I know why there's such a gap.
Yeah. Right. Well, I want to say hello to Chris,
time in what it used to be.
Say hello to Chris, the comic vet, New Guy Ryan, and Nick's Kicks and Comics. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Like I mentioned earlier, we are going to be talking Eternals. We're going to full spoiler talk Eternals, give our take reviews. Hopefully we have some differing opinions because it'd be boring just to hear us all repeat the same things. But we're actually going to be kicking off with that. Then we're going to do the drawing for the Legion loot giveaway, and then we'll be reviewing some comics or in some such order. But we're definitely starting with Eternals because it's an Eternal special. So if you haven't seen the movie, stick around and we can tell you about it, and you can decide if you want to go see the movie. Let's say hey to the chat real quick. Ruben Guzman's up in here. What is up? Chip Getler, how are you doing tonight? Flo Dameron's up in the chat. Hello, Mars Comics. How are you doing? Steven C is up here. Look at all these channel members. That is awesome. Joe is up in here. What is going on? What is shaking? Brian, how are you doing tonight? We got the cover collector up in here. Thomas is up in here as well. Coco loves Chevy. Appreciate you coming by. Ayo, Eternal Disappointment? ? Everyone's mileage is going to vary with this movie. Well, you've already seen, if you've been on the internet at all, you've seen this is definitely one that has split reviews. Eternals, what is that? Some kind of erectile dysfunction product? Yeah, probably. So we're going to find out if this movie stayed strong or if it fell flat. We'll get the hot scoop here tonight. Nick, you're muted.
Which is good because I just cursed.
Okay, perfect. Let's see, more people here. We got Chamaru Cinemas is up in here. Free Energy, how are you doing tonight? Appreciate you coming by. DJ Links himself is up in here. The Supreme Leader, how are you doing? What is going on, Nicholas? Chamaru Cinemas is up in here. Boom, 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 boom. Make sure I don't miss anybody. Dude, what is going on? Hidden Gem Comics, how are you doing tonight? Paul Rogers is up in here. So yeah, I think that I've hit all the new faces. If I missed you, I do apologize. It kind of runs kind of quick as people comment. But Eternals, getting right into it, I'm going to let Chris, because out of the four of us, he definitely enjoyed it the most. So I'm going to let him go ahead and give his. Everyone at this point knows what it is. So if you want to give a brief overview of it, I'm not going to try to go through and dissect the movie scene for scene. Just kind of hit the highs and lows. What did you like about it?
It was good.
Awesome, Ryan. I want to get started on this wheel of names. While you go ahead, Chris.
I give it 4 Maple Leafs out of 5.
That's fair.
Does that mean
Real quick, Ryan? How many Longhorns did you give it?
Lone Stars or Longhorns?
Longhorns or Lone
Yeah,
Stars?
Longhorns. I mean, for me, this was like I would say positive. Like 6 out of 10, probably 3.5 out of 5. A little over halfway there. Yeah.
Well, on the color scale, I give it an orange, between yellow and red.
Orange, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
The what scale?
If we're
The
working
color
on,
scale. Yeah, I review in colors, and I give you no standard of what they mean. Just know green is the best. That's the only thing that matters. This is definitely between yellow and red for me. It was a solid orange, maybe leaning a little more red.
What's the opposite of green then?
I don't know math like that.
Like,
and I'm just gonna work on DJ Lynx's scale, and I'm gonna give it a 3.5 handies out of 5.
3.5 handies it is.
oh, you have to be privy to the chat for that one.
Yeah, I gave it. I think I gave it 3.5 magnolia leaves. Right.
Yeah. I think the one thing collectively the four of us can agree on, the fact that Pink Floyd introduced this movie was fantastic. Like the fact that they rolled out Time by Pink Floyd for the introduction of the movie, and when the Marvel Studios roll happens and everything, I thought that was great. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a good tone for this movie. For those that were unaware or can't handle the fact that this is truly an international film, I feel bad for you. I'm not going to dissect that further, but this movie is not meant for just one type of national audience anymore. This particular movie was Marvel stepping into, we are going to listen to our fans globally. That's why you had so many different cultures, I feel, portrayed in this film, whether it's Asian, South Asian, Indian, North American, even Central America had a portion of this film played into it that way. And I thought it was very, very cool to see. This was Marvel's first ensemble movie, I felt, where the characters weren't introduced previously. Like, it was just one giant, hello, this is this, I don't want to say ragtime, but this is this team that is together, that they're not actually real. They're android, if you want to call it that way, or however, but they do have a conscience, obviously, and they do protect each other for the most part. I thought the casting was very interesting. I personally was not a fan of Angelina Jolie from what I got to see. But again, anyone I felt could have played her character. I think maybe they just wanted to get a big name or an Oscar winner into the cast, and they went ahead and did that. We can... I'll touch on what other guys say, but I thought it was very, very interesting. I thought it was cinematically, it's the most beautiful film that Marvel's ever done, personally. Very little green screen, natural lighting. I remember seeing an interview with the director talking about, okay, we have a 25-minute window where the clouds are not going to be in the sun, or that we're actually going to have a cloudy day. So they filmed in that, drawing on the chops of what the actors that they had. But the forced humor, the whole IKEA scene, that kind of thing. I get that.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to slide that up on the screen. I'm trying to just do the names while I listen.
I thought it was very, very good. Very good. I think this is, whether people are going to recognize it or not, one of the most important films Marvel has ever done. for a multitude of reasons.
I'm one of those people that won't recognize that.
First sex scene that we actually had.
That's not how I rate success in a Marvel movie.
First kiss, I said important.
I don't count that as important.
Okay.
Actually, I would say that was actually something that hindered it. It was unnecessary, unneeded. And, after we get through in the movie and find out like more about the Eternals, that it was all for nothing to begin with.
Right. But they try to live lives, and some of them decided not to be with each other. Some tried to blend into society the best that they could. Even one tried to trick society for 5 different generations.
Just for the sake of knowing your audience and not trying to do something that you should know is going to split a lot of viewers because of who your audience is. Like, that seemed unnecessary. You could have accomplished that same moment without like 7 or 8 quiet, heavy breathing strokes on a rock somewhere out in nature. Like, that was just unnecessary, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Like, well, I don't know what box they were trying to check off doing that, but even when it was happening, like, I'm not a kid, and I'm like, this doesn't really seem like it's necessary for this movie. I'm not saying they played into the emotional aspect. I don't think the whole sex scene was necessary. I know that there's a lot of people that spoke out and said this was really inappropriate for our viewing experience, being that you market Marvel movies to children. They do. They're meant for all ages until now.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, overall, I'm pretty positive on the movie. Probably about in the same place as Mark and Mark and Nick here. But at the end of the day, like, I thought like the visuals and the action and everything was great. Like, very well executed on that end of it.
Oh, yeah.
But the problem I had with this movie was that it didn't really know where it was at or where it needed to be or who it was for, really. For me, like, I've never read anything about the Eternals, so I went into it without any of that knowledge. On top of that, I have not seen a single trailer for this movie. So I went into this movie like about as blind as possible. And for me, what I was really hoping this was going to do, just like based on the name and what little bit of hearsay I've heard about these characters, I was hoping they were going to lean more into like something like Dune, where they were just going to say, what, this might not be our strongest performance money-wise, but we're going to carve out a new corner of the MCU that's like more serious, not necessarily darker, but dealing with more adult themes. And like, it can still fall into this PG-13 realm, but like, we're going to really tackle like existentialism, and we're going to look at things that really, could change the way that we play with some characters in the Marvel universe and kind of like build this separate corner of the sandbox. And instead you get into the movie and it's like, sometimes it's trying to do that, but other times they're like bringing in this weird sense of humor that just like leans right into the kid-friendly MCU humor that has kind of like bled out into everything they do at this point. And it's even bled into like other things like Star Wars. And I had really hoped that this one was going to change the tone and say like, no, there can be movies and parts of the MCU that are not just like all jokey, let's play around and make a big action blockbuster film, And so that to me was like the biggest disappointment in this movie, is that it just didn't really know who it was for. It was kind of PG-13 for kids, but it was also kind of adult, but it was really not for either of those. And I think that's what hurt it the most.
That's interesting. Go ahead, Nick.
Just to piggyback off what Ryan was saying, I did feel the movie kind of meandered and not really found or hit its real stride. It kind of wanted to get into a lot of character development and make you care about the characters, but at the end, I really didn't care about. The only guy I cared about was the valet carrying around the family.
Yeah, that actor was terrific. The actor was terrific.
Yeah.
And I think it was like right down the middle. I mean, as I said before, there are 3 things that I base these movies on. As a comic book guy, I go in for comic book references. All right, and this just kind of checked the box. I didn't read that much Eternals prior to, but I did get some references. I saw some cool shit in there that I've never seen before, with the scale of the Celestials.
That was amazing.
The final battle with Mercari and her speed was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The humor was there, but again, they were things that felt forced. And that whole sex scene, I found, like just like the other guys, completely unnecessary. And I was a little bit uncomfortable thinking that I had to explain what was going on to my 10-year-old son. I just felt that the long lingering kiss at night where it turns into morning kind of would have suggested the same thing without seeing like, crap, am I going to have to have...
Tony Stark, they did it with Iron Man by not showing you a sex scene, just them getting out of bed. So if you're an adult and you kind of have a better idea of the context and what that room looks like, like there's a tactful way to do it for a bigger audience movie.
Right. So I mean, in the next one, if it's going to be the Dark Doctor Strange, is it going to be doggy style with Clea?
You're going too far. You're going
That's
too
the
far.
thing. Like, I think if they had like really leaned into the more serious side and advertised this as like a PG-13 movie but for adults, I think the sex scene would have made more sense and they could have played into that a little bit more. But again, like that whole like marketing and straddling the line of like classic MCU for kids and trying to make something a little more adult, the sex scene just feels so out of place right there.
But did it feel out of place in Superman 2 when Richard Donner had Clark and Lois butt-ass naked Superman underneath a satin sheet? That was back in the early 80s. So like, it's not new. It's just the fact Marvel's done it and everyone's got their nose out of joint.
But that's apples and oranges because this is Marvel movie. This is an installment in an ongoing franchise that has a specific brand that's also marketing in a specific
Superman
way.
is the most famous superhero of all time, and his movies were the first.
You can't.
You don't see Superman and Lois boning in bed. You see them like that's
no. You just see them, like I said, under satin sheets.
Yeah, like that's what
you don't see these two boning either.
But
you just see their like from shoulders up, and it's all innuendo.
Back in that time,
I counted the thrusts because that's what I do, and there were 7.5 thrusts.
Well, now I give it 7.5 Maple Leafs out of 10.
You can't compare that time. Back then, kids didn't have to wear seatbelts. They were smoking.
Oh, come on.
Well, they also again, like that's like if you're going to take that example, you're going to have to take that back to the first Iron Man movie where you didn't watch them boning. You just see them that to the point like you could have done it more tactfully with them just in bed together. Like you saw them get married. You saw them get married. So what would it have hurt to like see them?
Look, at 10, I've already seen my first Playboy. You're telling me a 10-year-old today hasn't seen a lot worse than what happened in the Internals?
We can't help it if you're a juvenile delinquent.
This is a moot point now. I'm just saying this is going to be one of those films that's going to be remembered because a lot of different things happen in this movie for the first time. That's one of them.
That's a good point. They do look like those aliens from Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was another thing, too. Is like the deviants were kind of corny looking to me.
But they also that was
DJ Links.
They kind of that was my thing that I was mentioning already. Like the whole joke thing, it really missed because this movie should have just been a serious, like going full serious with like having like 2 or 3 jokes throughout. Like, I think Batman Begins, how like it's a full serious movie, but he does that the little one-liners 2 or 3 times where he looks at the homeless guy, nice jacket, and takes off, just so you can get a little levity in the movie. It's not meant to make you die laughing, but something more along that formula would have been great. But they just
it's hard for me to argue, guys, the comedic stuff that's in there. I think the only time we should have had comedy in the film is when we had that the Indian character, especially when he was doing his Bollywood scenes. That could have been the comedic points for the film. I'm sure you guys have seen his HBO show, or maybe you didn't, Silicon Valley. Mm-hmm. So he's a comedic actor to begin with. And he could have been the one that just would have been delivering those one-liners, and the interactions between him and his valet would have been the comedic points in the film. We didn't necessarily have to have that whole Icarus with, IKEA and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I agree with you guys there. Like, I'm not just going to, try and punch holes at whatever you guys say. But again, just you. But just you. But the again, the comedic stuff here, a little bit should have been dialed back. I kind of think they should have just left it to one character so that, when you see that guy on the screen, there might be something that comes out of the side of his mouth that, that might be over kids' heads or whatever.
And then give him the baddest badass part in the whole movie. The baddest, the action scene that really takes everything and flips it on his head, what he's done the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought, it's not that I didn't want any kind of levity to it. It was just the humor was just so forced and over the top most of the time, just to it really felt like, hey, we need to match what we're doing with all the other MCU stuff. And again, I just wish they would have carved a new space out in the MCU for a more serious take on a lot of this stuff.
The least comedic film that the MCU has released is the best one, in my opinion, and that's The Winter Soldier. There's not that much comedy in that film, if anything. And I think almost everyone would agree that outside of the ensemble stuff, The Winter Soldier is the best movie that's been released, except for Mark.
No, I love Winter Soldier.
Okay. No, I'm just joking. I love you, Mark.
I don't think you do, but that's beside the point. I'm glad you're here. So there's everything that really all the negatives or the things that critique out this movie have been mentioned already. There's plenty of shills out there on both sides of the coin that are just dogging this movie excessively, that are just praising it as the best MCU movie that has come out, which they'll say as soon as the next one comes out. All of those people are absolutely wrong. There's definitely ups and downs for this movie. It's going to hit differently for different people based on your personal experiences, and that's the good things about things like movie that are art. But all that to say, I do want to talk about some of the stuff that was awesome in it, because it definitely did have some awesome stuff in it. So they did introduce the Black Knight, though he was a very small part of the film. He's God, I already forget her name, the girl from Game of Thrones who's in this movie. Not the actress, the character. Cersei.
Jon Snow, yeah.
Cersei. All of Game of Thrones is in this movie, whether it's an actor or a character name. They're
King
all
Rob, Jon Snow.
King Rob, Jon Snow, Cersei.
I thought that was kind of cool just to see Rob and John back together again.
Yeah, yes. It was. I was just waiting for the red wedding. I'm like,
oh no, too soon, Mark, too soon.
That episode was better than this movie. But I enjoyed the movie. I honestly, when I watched it, I'm like, yeah, it wasn't bad. That was me and my wife's first response. It just didn't feel like it flowed. They're trying to find footing that wasn't there. I agree with that. But it was cool getting introduced to the Black Knight. They included him in the final post-credit scene where he actually opens up the case and he has the ebony blade in there and he's battling with himself if he wants to grab it or not. And right before the movie ended, he attempted to tell Cersei his true heritage, because this whole time he wasn't just a bumbling goofball, just like every other male character in the movie was. And I wanted more of him. I wanted to see him pick up that ebony blade and go for it. But it's got me excited for what's coming. It definitely does. I know Marvel's trying to find these new breakout characters for fans to really fall in love with and come back for and everything. So hopefully he can be one. And I think Ryan or Chris or whoever already hit on the biggest thing for me was the Celestials. I said beforehand that's what I'm most excited about, is seeing the Celestials. And it looked to me, all the mythos that we got, the actual comic book mythos that I could directly pull from, came from Alex Ross's Earth X. In that series, in the first issue, when Aaron Stack and Uatu the Watcher were having a conversation on the moon, they went through the real history of the Marvel Universe. And that's where you get that planets only exist to incubate Celestials. Galactus only exists to devour planets to slow the spread of Celestials as this ultimate cosmic balance. So I was kind of waiting on Galactus to get some kind of something this whole time, because it's all there. There is nothing left to do but roll his ass out. He is 100% set up now. That's all it took was them to address that directly, and they did it. And I loved how they do it. I hated that they used the term World Forge, because looking at the structure of the What If series, now that was a direct rip from the way that DC structured their Tales of the Dark Multiverse, and then seeing them do the World Forge, which for me is another DC thing. I hate seeing the companies borrow from each other, especially borrowing modern content. That's super lazy, in my opinion. It didn't take away from the movie, but as soon as they said it, I'm like, oh my God.
Now, they did use a lot of the Gaiman Eternals limited series stuff. I kind of felt they lent more to the Gaiman stuff as opposed to the Kirby stuff. With the look and the coloring of their original costumes, that was all Kirby, and I thought that was very, very well done. Obviously, they're not going to shape everything the way that Kirby did or could and have that 70s flavor, but they definitely used the color scheme to all the Eternals that he created. And the look of Ursham, is that how you pronounce his name properly? The same thing there. They went with that Kirby look. But I kind of felt a storyline where obviously Icarus being, very militant in his stance to following the mission. That's both Kirby and Gaiman. Using Sprite's ability to cast illusion. That's Gaiman. I thought that part was cool, but again, the final battle scene I thought was terrific.
Yeah.
The special effects were terrific. Maybe it's because the director pointed out the lighting. I thought that was great.
They melded in Pip. He did not even match the rest of the film. When Pip walked out of the portal, I'm like, dude, I actually got excited. I'm like, dude, it's Pip. And then when he gets to talk, I'm like, it's Pip. He looks kind of cartoony there, buddy. Okay. That doesn't really bother me. You're going to see people complain about it, which I have, and they're not wrong. It did not match the rest of the film, but how are you going to get hung up on that after what you? Yeah. But the final fight, dude, when the Celestial came out of the Earth, that was epic in scale. It really was.
Oh, and you know what I heard also too, because I'm all about the rumor mill. I don't care if it spoils anything about me, but I heard that his hand now is going to be leading into what gets Namor.
See, and I hadn't even heard that yet, but when me and my wife were watching, I'm like, this is when Prince Namor should show up. First off, every superpower, every government agency should have all been there. The biggest world-shaking event that's ever happened in the known history of mankind is currently happening, and there's 6 people there. What kind of response time does our planet have in that universe now? But I told these guys I want to see Namor fighting on those stone remains of that Celestial later. That would be awesome.
So my question is this: the one thing after we saw that scene, I'm sitting at home and I'm thinking, okay, so in Guardians of the Galaxy, we were introduced to Nowhere, where this gigantic mining colony was happening in space, where they're mining ahead of a Celestial. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen to Earth? Is Earth going to become a battleground to try and get into that Celestial's brain to mine everything that's in there as well?
I don't think
or am I way out in left field there?
Yeah, you're way out in left field because only for the simple fact that it's no longer a Celestial. It's literally just a statue.
Marble.
She changed it, Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Left field in Canada.
Canada's outfield.
My big thing is she can do that to the Celestial, but she's got to run to the top of the volcano. That's what she's got to do. It'll take her an hour and a half to get there, but she can do that to the Celestial.
Well, how do they explain it too? Because you notice how everybody
the Unimine thing,
even the ones that weren't wearing the bracelets, Icarus, Sprite. They got linked up to the Unimine at the end too, without the bracelet. So I don't know if that was a plot hole. They tried to post explain it after they're all standing there friends again and everything, and she just out of nowhere Sprite, I can make you immortal. How about that? That way I can kill you if you try this shit again. But
can we swear?
But she's still gonna have her powers.
No, I didn't understand that as soon as they all linked up to the Unimine. I'm like, wait a minute, because they had to make those bracelets that strangely looked like the 10 rings when they were making them. I was waiting for a Shang-Chi connection because in Shang-Chi they said that the rings came out of something that fell from the sky. They found the rings in them. So I don't know what they're going to do with that still. And at the end of Shang-Chi with Wong looking at the rings and not understanding their structure and it being a beacon for something. And so we still have no follow-up.
Galactus.
That'd be cool. I really do want some Galactus. If you want to follow Thanos, you have to do Galactus. Really, what are you going to do?
Please, sweet Jesus, give me the Fantastic Four. I've had enough of this waiting. They gave us Spider-Man, thank God, and I don't know how the next Spider-Man movie is going to go. I'm really up in the air, but for the love of God, give us the Fantastic Four.
Do you ever get tired of only loving the things that the MCU can't do?
Yes. Yes.
Do them now, though, right?
I'm hashtag restore the Snyderverse. That's not working for me either. But here I think
it's just funny that all of his favorite properties are the ones that were owned by Fox and Sony when all this
now you're
set
catching
out.
on. The most important ones got bitted out.
Yeah, they started
Of
with
course.
the good ones. Spider-Man, Hulk, Daredevil, Fantastic Four.
All right, so we spoke about the first post-credit scene. Let's talk about the second one.
All right. Tell everybody what happened.
Okay, so while Dane was opening up his family heirloom, there was a voice off screen that said, "You sure you want to do that, Mr. What's his last name?
Whitman.
Mr. Whitman?"
Dane Whitman.
Now, first you hear a voice like that, it sounded a lot like the Sam Jackson to me.
Yeah, back in I think we're programmed to hear that too at this point.
Kind of makes sense, but then some people heard Jeffrey Wright, and one other voice came to mind because of the tie-in in the comics.
I can tell you who I thought it was, but go ahead.
Okay, so go ahead.
Who do you think it was?
I thought it was Doctor Strange.
Oh.
What about you, Ryan?
I don't know. I think I really didn't have any take on it. If anything, I kind of took it probably as like Sam Jackson, just like, okay, this is somebody putting together a team.
Which would make
sense. Talk about the Defenders Initiative. Just switch it up.
Yeah.
Back to the first Iron Man.
Revengers.
Yeah, we're here to put together a team.
Right, and I share with Mark who I heard who it was, and if it was indeed Sam Jackson.
It was Sam Jackson's The Watcher or Blade, right? Where you're three.
Right. So yeah, it was DJ says it. I mean, if it was Sam Jackson, it would make sense to have him on screen. But it was Mahershala Ali's Blade.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Now, can anybody explain to me the connection between Blade and Dane?
I know they spent time in the comics.
At this point, everyone has spent time with everyone in the comics. I mean, is it a
Blade?
thing?
The only Blade I read was Midnight Suns.
I actually saw something about this. I forget what the team is called, but there was like a vampire hunting team that involved Blade and the Black Knight and like 3 other people, like M19 or something like that. So that could be the potential connection there.
I'm wondering, going back to Dark Ages, I know it's super new, but that second issue, remember how there was that team that was like the guards, because it was eternally night, so they protected the city, and Blade was on it. I wonder if Black Knight was on it. I didn't think to remember if he was or not.
I don't remember that character being in Dark Ages.
Yeah, I don't remember him being there either. I know Blade was there.
Yes.
Just for that one scene. I don't know. I'm definitely excited for the new Blade movie. I love the Blade movies. I think it'll be fun if they do them well. I think they should definitely go R-rated for them, though. We know now that they've warmed us up. We've gotten our first sex scene, so Chris is ready for R-rated Marvel movies now.
Bring it.
M13, that's what it was called.
It was M113 to fight Dracula, actual Dracula.
Actual Dracula.
Nice.
Adrian.
That dude is in my country, man. Like, oh no.
I mean, he was spitting out teeth at one point. So.
Oh my God! Speaking of spitting out teeth, I just finished The Sopranos, and that guy, shut up, Brian. That guy who went and messed with Meadow while she was eating dinner with her boyfriend in that second to last episode, and Tony went into his pizzeria and just started pistol whipping him and made him bite the curb, but on the corner of the bar stool where you prop your feet up and just kicks him in the back of the head. And then he goes to therapy with his kid, and he notices in his pants, in the little fold in the bottom of his pants, there's the dude's tooth still in there. It was awesome. That show was fantastic. I love the ending. Forgot which title, but in that story, the Ebony Blade was created by Dracula.
I also really liked in this movie the fact that they went and like we got to see like different cultures and different history across time. You know, I kind of wish they had basically made this movie all that. I think that would have been more fun to like really dig into some of that and spend some time in history and that way they could just kind of like circumvent all the issues of like the Eternals are here, but like all of this crazy stuff has happened because they're like, where were you when Thanos showed up and all that stuff? And they're like, oh yeah, well they told us not to interfere with like human stuff. Like he was trying to destroy half of the universe. That seems a little bigger than just humanity. So I feel like it's kind of a straw man argument, but I mean, at the end of the day, like they could have done this whole movie just like in the past and really dug into like some of those cultures and had fun with that. And I actually think this would have been cool if the movie had ended like just as the Avengers kind of assembled in that first movie, and then they had taken like the Eternals too to really kind of discuss where the Eternals had been during all of the Avengers stuff we've seen so far.
I completely give them that pass through Thanos. We saw how they were created, and one of my I don't want to say arguments, but one of my arguments for the lack of like character emotion and depth or development in this, I kind of base it on how they try to present them, how they are just these like they're nothing. They're not real people. They're just made, and they don't have, I guess, what we would call souls. They don't really get into that or anything, but they're more or less just robots. They're robots made by a celestial. So they're not just made by a celestial. They are programmed to follow unquestionably the directions given to them by their known creator, by their known God. Like they've met their creator. They talk to him directly or through Ajax. So they have no reason to, if you're taking orders from a celestial and the planet you're on is in danger and the celestial says stand down, why would you ever question that? Like to you, like that's nothing compared to the celestial. Even though if you actually read the comics, you know that the celestials were nothing to Thanos with the gauntlet. But in the MCU is vastly different. I don't think that watching the Celestials work, I don't think that that gauntlet would have done as much good in the MCU as it did in the comics. They didn't go as big scale other than just flip. I don't know if he could just snap a Celestial away. I don't know. It looked like it hurt him.
Yeah, it just seems weird that we were told not to meddle in human affairs, and then like I don't see Thanos as a human affair whenever he's like, I'm gonna erase half of the entire universe, including non-humans. Like that's a little bit bigger than a human affair. That's
but that was that was just a generic answer they gave. You got to realize they communed with the Celestials on a regular basis about events as they were going on. It wasn't like they were just told in the beginning, don't meddle in human affairs and leave it alone. We watched them give them the plow. We watched them step in when to a certain degree when it was necessary. We watched them meddle in human affairs when their personal feelings took over. By the time you got to Thanos, they weren't even together. They had been disbanded, separated. Yeah, they were, it wasn't even like they could make that call anyways. Like Ajax was somewhere, you know what I mean? And half of them weren't even on the team if you called them in for the team. So it made sense. I'll give them that.
But it was a snap, and then, the blip back that was the catalyst for the Eternals to change their mind. So without the whole Thanos thing happening and them not interfering, it wouldn't have been the fracture in the team or the change in the mentality of it all. That, hey, the human race, mankind is different. Maybe these are the ones that stepped up and changed everything for half the universe. So this is why, the fracture happened, that we were that important to protect. And there was just a handful that said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The Earth is just an incubator. And, yeah. And when Null shows up, God help Hersham.
If they make Null that big of a deal, if they give him the Donny Cates treatment, he'll come in strong and then end up being a nobody.
And then Eddie, a photographer will end the whole thing. So yeah, sure. Yeah.
But yes, he might have done that to a Celestial, but Thanos literally turned them into house ornaments.
Right.
Like legit. Like Infinity himself couldn't stop Thanos. Like the living embodiment of the 616 could not stop Thanos. But they didn't go
Warlock
near
or the Surfer. Mm-hmm.
Nobody. It took Zombie Nebula.
It took Captain America standing up to him for a diversion. Yeah.
Don't forget that, dude. That backhand, that still breaks my heart watching. Just pow! Man, that did it. And then that like kind of above screenshot where you see like Cyclops sitting there with the cube on his head and Iron Man's head laying there, and all the little cubes where he just slaughtered in the comics. Like he was a lot more savage in the comics than he was in the movie. Brian has a daughter. Not even lived in his parents' basement. It's a big basement, and his parents don't live there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then, like, I guess my other question is too. I mean, kind of final question about this movie for me, at least. Where does it go from here? Like, do we see individual Eternals like appear in other movies, or do they always kind of like stick together as a team from here? Or like, I guess, like, what is kind of your expectation going forward from here?
See, that was the thing for me, is like I don't care to see another one. I would like the whole thing with Guardians of the Galaxy. You're like, all right, there's a cool dynamic here. I want to see what kind of trouble they can get into. With this, I was just like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that sentiment.
I think the most important thing moving forward from this film, like character-wise, is the Black Knight. That's it. Like obviously we know Ursham took away the good Eternals and is judging mankind based on their memories. So I'm sure that we'll be fine. Otherwise, we're gonna have Galactus versus Ursham in the big Blitz movie that's gonna happen. I don't think that'll happen. But Icarus flew a little too close to the sun, I guess, in the end. So who knows if King Rob is going to return? I don't know. So
they can just download him into a new body.
Yeah,
there's already tons of them made, anyways, and maybe the next one won't be a douchebag.
But yeah, I don't know. And I don't mean that sarcastically. I think the most important thing moving forward from this movie is Dane Whitman.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. At least for me personally, I'm most excited about that character, and he's going to have to go into the next Eternals movie because him and what's her name from Game of Thrones? Yeah, they're a couple. Don't they have a kid in the comics?
And Icarus is alive and well.
Yeah. Yeah. Pop said Black Knight and Cersei can join the Avengers. Yeah, they were rocking the Avengers in I think it was the late 80s and early 90s. They were on the team, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken. Homelander was great in this movie.
And that's
nailed it. How about all the DC Comics references?
Yeah, and
that was terrific.
I don't disagree with that. They need to piggyback on something for this movie.
Oh, for fuck's
sake. You know what, too? I don't care so much about seeing Black Knight in action. I want to see what happens when he goes crazy. I want to see the effect that the blade has on him. So
going straight berserker mode and start ripping people's rib cages out and stabbing them with it.
Mm-hmm. And the horse.
Yeah, and the horse. Are y'all have anything else y'all want to touch on for this? Because I more than talk about this movie at this point, I do want to talk about some comics. There was some good stuff that came out this week, and we also have the giveaway that we're about to do. I got the wheel ready. We can spin for that, and then we can get into talking and reviewing.
I'm going to put this one down, and then I'm ready to talk comics. So I think that's all I got for this movie anyway.
I think we pretty much covered it. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't have a clue. That was one thing I said about these post-credit scenes, since it's all kind of post-credit scenes hinting at upcoming projects that haven't already had a part one or a part two or linked up with any other stuff. It's really just the sky is the limit. They can follow up or go in a completely different direction than they're planning to now. We'll never know the difference. But so it's just, who knows? Let's share.
I enjoyed that they kept that quiet, whereas the Venom one kind of got leaked or whatever. I know that the whole Harry Styles casting was announced, but the Black Knight scene I thought was terrific.
We were at the LCS, and some guy there had found an Avengers 232, and I was like, with the culture the way things are, there's no way they're going to bring Eros into the MCU. In this cancel culture, and lo and behold, there you
go. Why wouldn't they bring him in?
Because
he's more handsome than Thanos, though.
True. I mean, essentially, he's the MCU version of Pepe Le Pew. Because that's the only thing he wants to do is eat, drinking.
I kind of thought he was just like like a Loki knockoff.
So it's like
That's always been my
that's what
takeoff of
Loki
him.
was saying. That he's just another
It's
Loki cast illusion.
And they have a fantastic actor for Loki.
Well,
so
the
I can see why they
MCU
need to do this. But
ultimate Pepe Le Pew. He tried to score themselves in the TV show.
All right, let's hit the comic vet so I can win.
All right, so I want to go through these names real quick. I want to say a big thank you to Sam, the cover collector, Stephen C., Coco Loves Chevy, Rob's Fat Sacks of Comics, New Guy Ryan, Cardboard Crazies, Whack Comics, Hoarder's Hide, Flo Dameron, DJ Links, Chamorro Cinema, Remy Q Studios, Small Town Collectibles, Slotted Up, Ready for Wednesday, which is Tyler from Whack Comics, Nick's Kicks and Comics, The Comic Vet, War Machine Punisher Comics, Chip Getler, List Eman, The Bearded Comic Bro, Southern Comic Geek, Actual Dracula, Panda Awesome 316, Digger Jim, Blue Hellion, Flash 6792, Beckerman, Paul Rogers, Burke Family 54 Comics, Pop's Attic, Sector 2815, Dale of Suspense, White Tiger, Triple C's, and the comic book G-Spot. And for the record, if Pop's Attic hits, we are spinning again per Pop's Attic.
Hey, tell them what we win, Don Pardo.
Oh, do I need to show the books off? This is my first time doing this. Do I even have the books out?
The Cover Collector, Stephen C., Coco Loves Chevy, Rob's Fat Stacks, New Guy Ryan, Cardboard Crazies. All right, go ahead. Sorry. I was doing that for links.
You're fine. You can keep doing that. All right. So here's the stack of books we got going out for this month. I got that Chicken Devil #1. I threw some extras in here. That Justice League Last Ride #6, that B cover, which was like the cover of the month still. Nice House on the Lake #1, the third print. Primordial #1, the A cover. That first appearance.
I win just for Primordial.
Yeah, this is Superman Son of Kal-El 2. It's the first appearance of John Kent's boyfriend. That book's gotten up to like $15-20. So I snagged an extra one to throw in there. That Gleason ASM 75.
Love it.
Love me some Gleason. I really do like that a lot. The Captain Harlock John Jane cover, which is the wraparound for issue #5.
Jane Gang.
Death of Doctor Strange, the Jay Enceloto Big Time Collectibles exclusive. That's the trade dress.
Great cover.
This is United States of Captain America issue #something. This is the Mercado variant from Big Time Collectibles. It's the first appearance of, I believe that was a Filipino Captain America because each issue spotlights a different first appearance of a different Captain America.
I think it was 3, Mark.
So we think that was 3. And this is the Department of Truth, either 13, 14, 17 or something like that, but it's the homage to Run DMC. It's a Run DOT Virgin variant from BTC.
Awesome.
There's a lot of letters in that. Big Time's Collectibles Raise the Walking Dead, issue #24 exclusive they did. And then we have the Big Time Collectibles Miko Suyon convention exclusive for Superman 78 #1 in that gorgeous black and white. And then we have the original Jim Lee one to go with it.
Nice.
So those are the books that you can win.
Incredible.
Nick's Kicks and Comics.
Shuffle a bunch. Paul recommended that we do it 17 times since that's my favorite number, and that's close enough to 17.
It's my first number.
All right, here we go. So the winner of the first Leap and Loot giveaway is big congrats to John.
I knew I'd win.
I'll get these things wrapped up and shipped out to you sometime this coming week, most likely Tuesday. So yeah, I appreciate all the channel members, everybody who's joined the Legion. I can't thank all of you guys enough. It's y'all's membership that helps fund all those extra books that are going in there, as well as other things I'm planning on doing, like buying a new car. It's going to take me a lifetime to buy a new car. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that was fun.
All right. So if we're segueing into the comic portion of the show, I have not read any books this week, so I'm going to dip out, go watch Dexter with the wife.
What is that on? What streaming service? Because that was Showtime back in the day.
It's Showtime today. Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. How do you even watch Showtime now?
I have it through Amazon Prime. They offer a deal. I think it's like
Okay. I'm not doing that.
$20 for the year.
Pretty much any of those services that offers. You can
Like
get it
Amazon
through Hulu. You can get it through Amazon Prime. Apple TV offers it.
YouTube TV.
I thought Showtime
Yeah.
was the Lakers in the 80s. I don't know.
That too. But have a good night, gentlemen. Mark, thank you for having me on.
All right,
Pleasure.
Nick, I appreciate you popping on.
Thanks for the chat. We love you guys. We'll talk to you later.
Check you later, dude.
This is the last time you'll see this. Tomorrow I have 10.
Are you posting the video tomorrow?
I think I'm going to go live at some point midday and unbox that thing.
Oh man, I hope I'm able to watch it when he goes live. That thing.
Later, guys.
All right, man, take it easy.
All right.
All right. Do y'all have books to show off?
I don't have anything to show off.
Well, I know you read most of your stuff digital. Do you want to go and go through your list
Sure.
of what you read from this week?
I guess I could show off what I got. I showed them Thursday, so I'm sure everybody was watching, right?
Watching Eternals.
Nah, that's true. Okay, well, y'all go first. I'll grab some books that I received in the mail.
All right. I present to y'all Chris.
Silver Coin 6. This is the first silver coin that was a letdown. The Me You Love in the Dark, issue 4. What can I say about this banger? Just keep your eyes peeled. This is Strange Academy presents The Death of Doctor Strange, the Peach Momoko cover. That this was actually not a good book. New Burn, fantastic. Nightwing 85, part of the Fierce State stuff. The DC franchise 116. Mark's favorite ongoing story, Firepower 17.
Yes.
And Out of Body number 5.
Oh, that's a gorgeous cover.
Yeah.
That
Inaki is incredible.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah. That's it. Look at that timing.
Boom, nailed it. Wow, okay. So I got in a box package from who's that guy? You know, Steve. Burke Family 54 Comics. He sent me a care package. So I got some pretty cool covers in there.
Hal Laren.
Yeah, that's Hal Laren, one of the Turtles books. I literally only know one character on that cover, but I do think it looks cool. I like the style to it.
Who's the character? Donatello?
That was Jenica. Apex
Oh.
was the one in the forefront.
My mistake.
Yeah, it's like an all-female. So you got like Jenica down there in the corner,
I don't
and
know.
then a bunch of other ones I don't know.
That's
that a
Apex
sloth?
in the middle. She's a fox in the center.
Oh.
Snow fox. She was in the earlier issues. I'm up to like volume 6 of the IDW stuff. I buy it and read it all in trade with no rush. It's like just always have like one or two pass where I'm at and just get to it when I get to it kind of thing.
Yeah, I've read like the first
Yeah.
5 trades, so I'm up to like issue 24 or something like that, 28.
Yeah.
But that's way behind where they're at now, so I don't know. Draken New Dawn, and I always like me some Trini, so
That's another all
I'm
women.
gonna
That's cool.
have a nice cover, have a cover that has her featured pretty well back there. Boom, boom. I have a trading card variant for pretty much each of the Rangers, so it's pretty cool to have a Draken now. So it kind of rounds out the collection.
That's a
I
ratio.
don't think I have. Yeah, I don't think I have one for the new Green Ranger either. So I guess if there's one of those, I need to get that too. That's Steve's exclusive variant, or however you phrase that.
I think that was right.
Exclusive.
Exclusive. There you go. And a Power Rangers Unlimited Heir to Darkness cover. So I didn't really the book itself, like the tone and the artwork is so mismatched. It's crazy, but it's not a bad cover.
Mm-mm.
And then I had backed Rick Quinn's Kickstarter project, so I received the reward for that this week. So I'll show that off. And it's basically just like a trade paperback collected edition of all of the books he's put out. But that's always cool. And then it came with this little Chibi Bot pin. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Nice.
So that's all the physical stuff I received this week. As far as like what I read this week, it was everything. But specifically, I read crossover number 9, which I think both of y'all had read last week.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dark Knights of Steel, Heathens, Human Target, Icon and Rocket number 4, Last Flight Out number 3, New Burn, which was phenomenal, Primordial 2, Radiant Black number 9, Superman 78 number 3, The Swamp Thing, Teen Titans Academy number 7, and A Thing Called Truth number 1.
Nice list.
It was extensive.
So I just got the guy who creates these sends these to me each issue for free. That one about that animal rights superhero that viciously slaughters anybody that doesn't feed their pets on time. But I'm really looking forward to it.
That's a great premise.
Yeah, that's legit what it's about. But I'm gonna do a review for it hopefully this coming week. But they're fun. They definitely feel like a homage to the 90s. Like if you can't tell just from like the character design there.
That could be a good plot for like either Poison Ivy or Swamp Thing. People who don't water their plants.
Yeah. Mr. Miracle, Source of Freedom wrapped up this week. Batman Reptilian number 5. Batman 116. I continue to get these TMNT best of, and they just did the April O'Neil, and this is the worst cover on a comic book I've ever seen. Like out of all comic books.
That's pretty cheese.
Yeah, so they've been doing negative space variants with the Turtles, Splinter, and Casey, and then they did this.
Wow.
That's
a miss on every level.
Every level.
That's
everybody's been getting these has been looking forward to a Shredder one, and now the image for Shredder's out, and they kind of even moved a little bit away from the negative space with him. He would have been an easy one to do. But anyway, Superman 78, 3 of 6. Whew. New Burn, which that was really good. I enjoyed that a lot. Like perfect timing because, like I said earlier, I just finished The Sopranos, so I get to live in the mob life a little bit. It's
weird how these things line up.
It is. This is like battling for read of the week right here. This was the Batman Superman Authority special. So this was like a successor to the Superman Authority book. What's going on in Justice League? What's going on in Superman? What happened? Like it's just so many titles just kind of lead to this before going on with their next issue. But dude, it was Philip Kennedy Johnson did an amazing job, and there's some Temple Smith artwork in there, just stellar.
Is that Christopher Reeve?
I was going to say, does he have the red trunks in that story?
Yeah. He only had the. I don't know why in the Grant Morrison 4 issue they went with that weird suit. I guess it was just like his leisure suit.
Okay.
Leisure
suit, Superman.
Yeah, I mean, he had the red trunks in all of his stuff except for that Superman Authority 4 issue where he was wearing like the short sleeve outfit with the Kingdom Come S and the gloves like he was about to ride Superboy's motorcycle or something. It was weird.
After the gym leisure.
Mm-hmm. Swamp Thing. It was a speed suit. Swamp Thing 9 of 10. Dark Knights of Steel number 1. This was a big week. Teen Titans Academy number 7. Human Target number 1. Bow. That was really good. And then I picked up one of these shiny things to put in next month's Legion loot box.
Hope I don't win that one.
You guys are savages.
I might, dude. Look, let me show you all this. I checked out this last week. I still haven't put this in a bag and board. This is a regular one. Just have it sitting here. Please. I might
send that to me. I'll draw you a sketch.
So yeah, we're not going to be able to get through all these books tonight. There's some of these I know we're not going to break into.
Oh, okay.
real quick.
yeah.
Teen Titans Academy. I think we're finally going to I think that this book for the last 4 issues has just been timing out so they can line up with other stuff, because you have the Shazam book going on, and they spent 4 issues kind of letting us have little 2-issue story arcs with some of these new characters just to get to know them more. So that seems like the only purpose it serves. So I'm expecting with the next issue for us to probably be getting back into the tower and back into the dynamics of being on the Teen Titans instead of just introduction. So with so many new characters coming in, and we're only 7 issues in, of course, they had to step away to kind of let us meet who they are. And the book's pacing's been feeling it because everyone's just wanting Red X. We've been teased. So I'm thinking that Red X is about to be coming back with a little gusto, hopefully.
It has to. It seems weird. Like he's just basically fell out of existence in the DC universe right now.
It's been gone. 3 months.
Yeah, that's weird.
Well, and this again, real quick. So Superman and the Authority actually had Batman come in and ask them for help because Batman was able to get a call from the multiverse. So if y'all read any of those Tales from the Dark Multiverse books, they were almost like what ifs. Like if there's this entity that could exist between the multiverse and look in on them and show you what's happening on those worlds, kind of like the Watcher in Marvel's What If show, but they did it 2 years prior. That entity has gotten captured by this dark multiverse world that's ran by the Al Ghouls, where they've completely taken over the entire planet. And they found them hiding in the multiverse, and they got him so that they could use him to find new planets to conquer. They go and try to stop them and rescue Tempest Fugonaut from their hold. What they don't. He gets savagely killed, cut to pieces, and hooked up to Enchantress and uses a battery. It was wicked. Batman 116, Scarecrow gets punched in the face. Peacekeeper gets mad and fights Batman. Batman Reptilian, this book has gotten so weird. Like Batman's trying to talk Killer Croc into nursing this animal and finds out that he can't, so they're just running for their lives.
What?
Dude, it's going full preacher on this.
Jumping the shark.
Full preacher.
Jumping the croc.
Yeah, it jumped the croc hard, but the artwork is insane. And every page, you're like, what are they going to say next? Like he literally says, if you can't nurse it, can you procreate with it? It wants something, and if you can't do one of those two things, you just want to eat. Like, dude, what is wrong?
I'm glad I stopped at number 1 on that. What are
what
you even saying
in the
right
hell
now?
just happened?
That's a.
This
Wow.
isn't me just going overboard to the extreme. That's legit what's happening in that book. I didn't get a chance to read this. I intentionally saved it for last because it's the finale. And I just finished a different book tonight. I forget which one. So I was watching The Sopranos, guys. Yeah, this is the finale of this. And it is, man, first issue aside being like a questionable entry, this has been nonstop fire. Like, really great series. But I didn't want it to be over.
It's already over. It feels like it just started.
It did about 6 months ago.
Oh, okay.
Short series.
Time flies.
Yeah. So I'm assuming like we collectively have probably read these all.
Yeah.
I haven't read Superman 78.
Well, I know Ryan did. You want to kick off of that one real quick? It isn't too much content to go over.
Well, you want me to throw some things out there that we're probably not going to talk about?
Yeah. Go ahead and burn through those first.
Yeah. Crossover number 9, basically what y'all said, I think, last week. I think it just keeps getting better. The power scene was like so good. Like they do it and like they kind of like lightheartedly do it, and then they're like, oh, you know what? Screw it. Let's just do it. And then they like really go all like full powers. That was really cool. Icon and Rocket number 4. This one was really good. Like the first 3 was a lot of like origin stuff where they were kind of like, who is Icon and who is Rocket, and like kind of setting them up as characters. This 4th issue, they get into like some more traditional superhero stuff, and like it's just fun. Like they kind of wreck the city. Well, Rocket kind of wrecks the city because she's an inexperienced superhero, and you know they basically get a monster of the week shows up, and so then like this other character comes in that's kind of part of a more extended universe, and so I think from here we're going to get more into like a traditional superhero kind of setup. So I'm excited to see where it goes from here. I really enjoyed this 4th issue. I didn't see either of y'all mention, well, I didn't see you especially mention Last Flight Out number 3. I really enjoyed this one.
I didn't get to it.
Oh, okay. I really enjoyed this one because it gets into like the messiness of humans and like how, you know, like they've all made these different sacrifices and like you can see how like it's good and bad, you know. I mean, the obvious one being the main character basically sacrificed his relationship with his daughter in order to like save humanity, you know. And then you find out like his daughter's also done some shady things, and her boyfriend is also connected into all of this, and he's done some things that could be seen as both like, you know, making sacrifices and stuff. So I thought it was really cool how they really expanded out the humanity of everything, and it gets kind of brutal. The cover actually made sense once I read it. Radiant Black #9. This was one of those books where like I wasn't too into it, but I was like, oh, it looks like the next arc is going to be kind of like crossover, you know, where it might like kind of start to get into something I really enjoy. And like it kind of did, but nothing was really happening. And then in issue 9, they kind of like do the same teasy thing where like basically he sees the ghost of his homeboy, you know, the one that like basically got murdered in #4 or whatever. He's been in this hospital bed. And so he sees the ghost of him and he's like, oh, okay, this is it. Like they're going to turn off all the equipment. Like you're going off life support. You're going to die. And then at the very last moment in the book, he's basically like, oh, wait, I know how we can save him. And like flies off and he's like, we're going to save him. He's not going to die. And I'm like, again, like this is the second time you basically killed this character and then like pulled the rug out from under us and be like, oh, never mind. So I think I'm so tired of Radiant Black. It's too like teasy, you know. And then Teen Titans #7, I was not into it. I'm gonna continue reading it because we talk about it, and like you said, I think we're kind of getting to where it's gonna line up and pick back up. But issue 7 was so dumb. It was just like all this stuff to basically say like Gorilla Greg isn't the same as his uncle Gorilla Grodd.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this whole
past 4 issues were
didn't make any sense.
just introductions to characters. We're even out of the tower, away from the other characters. I mean,
Yeah.
It may to be honest with you, if we didn't have these issues, whether they're good or bad, we would be complaining about not knowing who all these characters are. It's a lose-lose when you just character dump like they did. But again, we talked about it last week, growing pains. This book has growing pains from the introduction of new characters. And some of them are awesome. Like when they have Stitch on page, I'm not complaining about having a story about Stitch because it's a very intriguing character to me. So everyone's going to have different mileage with so many characters. And you know, I'm not interested in Gorilla Greg because, I mean, we have Gorilla Grodd. Yeah. But I did like the way they ended it with, like, I'm sure, like, they send him to prison. They're like, I'm sure he'll be fine or someone will figure out something to do with him. And then you look, he's already sitting outside the prison walls and it's on fire and sirens going off.
They show him, like, reading the note and stuff all up close. And you're like, oh, okay, he got a nice note. And then they kind of, like, zoom out on him. And it's like, oh, yeah, he's already back to it.
Yeah, he's good to go.
Yeah, so that's pretty much all I had to talk about that I don't think anybody else read. So,
Chris, you got a couple of them you want to
speed through? So I've been quietly enjoying the death of Doctor Strange. I picked up the Teen Titans Academy version. Strange Academy presents a death of Doctor Strange, and it was like half a maple leaf out of 10. Like it's just bad. Wow. The fact that Mike Del Mundo does the interiors is one of the saving qualities of this book. Basically, the Enchantress makes a deal with some wizard to give away her firstborn if she ever has children. But the story starts off with Doctor Strange trying to control that wizard, coming after the twins that the Enchantress has given birth to, and she's nonchalant about the whole thing. She doesn't care about the fact she has kids, and she says to Doctor Strange, I made this deal 100 million times, so who knows who else is coming. In the end, Doctor Strange puts this wizard kind of in a jail kind of thing, and then when Doctor Strange eventually passes away, or gets killed, pardon me, like everything else, those spells come undone. And the scene that starts off in modern time is that Brother Voodoo is telling the kids of Strange Academy that Doctor Strange has passed away. You all can go home for the time being. The Academy will be in touch with you when we're ready to start carrying on your education. And as the kids are leaving, that wizard shows up for the eldest of the Enchantress's twins, and that's about it. It's basically a short story after the teachers of Strange Academy band together to defeat this wizard. All the kids that go home, we get a 1-page spread of what they're all doing outside of school. Boom.
I think that book like I don't know too much about current Marvel, what having's on in the comics, but I feel like that book has potential with the whole like passing on the Sorcerer Supreme torch. Just from reading that first issue with Stephen going there and talking to him about that himself, and then the whole concept of Death of Doctor Strange. I've heard like a few people talking about thinking they might be passing the Sorcerer Supreme mantle on in the MCU itself. So I wonder if they'll source from Strange Academy to do it.
Maybe that whole Ditko family thing is affiliated with Doctor Strange as well, because Ditko is had his hands in the creation of Doctor Strange, right? That's a story for another day. Also read The Me That You Love in the Dark, the Scotty Young independent that has Jorge Corona do the interiors. Again, this is a very interesting book. This particular issue kind of went what I hoped in the beginning of the series didn't happen, but it's actually been very cool how Scotty Young has done it. The artist has been in this house now for the better part of almost a year, has never left the house at any point, and has now started to have sexual favors done to her to stay inside the house.
Been there.
Yeah, and yeah, me too. But but the interesting part is now that the ghost is adapting the persona of a jealous lover, and won't let her leave the house, won't even let her look outside for the fear that she may see another man and leave, kind of thing. So that concept I find kind of interesting, I'll be honest. She does have that little bit of a damsel in distress kind of thing, and that battered woman syndrome. At the tail end of this story for this issue, Ro, the main character, her agent shows up because she's an artist, and he literally shows up uninvited, and the ghost hits the roof and is basically telling her, don't let him in. And when she opens the door to say, I never invited you, you're not supposed to be here. Well, of course, her agent barges his way in and wanting to see the artwork that she's produced, because she has, a showing, an event coming up. And basically he finds that she's done hundreds and hundreds of these paintings. And when he looks closely at the stuff that she's done, it's stuff that's out of the norm for her, because basically she's painting what she imagines this ghost is. And every step that he takes within that house, the ghost is getting closer and closer to him, to the inevitable end where she literally says, you need to get out of here. And he says, well, clearly there's something wrong with you, so maybe you should come with me. And when she says, I can't, there's someone here, the agent says, well, who's here? And at that point, we see him, the agent, a little silhouette of him, surrounded entirely by this massive evil. And she says, he's behind you, and that's how it ends. The Silver Coin, I've been reading this anthology. This particular issue is done by Joshua Williamson, very familiar to all of us. It's basically exactly what the cover presents. It's a Mickey Mouse weak-ass story where a kid keeps losing at a video game. He's getting bullied at the same time by people that are in there. He gets thrown out of the arcade when he runs out of money, and he walks to a water fountain in which the silver coin is sitting at the bottom. It speaks to him, so he dips his hand in this water fountain that's inside of a mall, walks back to the arcade, puts the coin in the arcade into the machine, this machine that he's playing, and then all of a sudden does this incredible run, beating anyone who challenges him in the video game. And as it's happening, he's slowly turning into the character that he keeps picking to play within the video game. And at that point, when the store is about to close, the people that are working there are telling him to leave the store. And then he turns around and he's essentially turned into that character because of the silver coin. And he kills that person. When security shows up, he grabs the back of the security guard's head and pushes him down onto the joystick. That's a part of the arcade. And that's the end of that. When you guys want to talk about this interesting story, which was Mark's hot pick, we can also talk about this interesting story, which was my hot pick.
Yeah, when you're getting into the let's talk about them books. So real quick, Flo mentioned in the chat that the first No Way Home poster dropped, and it's actually right here. So I
feel like I've seen that.
You've got Goblin in the background, right between the lightning and the top right where the octopus arm is. He's really tiny back there, but he's back there. You got some sand flying around the sky, the lightning bolt, the arms, and that accounts for 4 of the villains. I can't tell what he's on Like
You mean lightning bolts for Electro?
yeah.
Yep. Big okay.
Yeah, the lightning, the sand, the goblin arms, and I can't tell what he's on, like what he's standing on, that rubble with the lights in it and whatnot, if there's anything hidden in there. I'm sure someone's going to dissect the hell out of this whole poster and look for any and everything.
Sony has no chill. Why is there so much in this movie again? Like, you would think they would learn with the Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3, but no, let's just get it all out there.
So Superman 78, real quick. This is a short review. Brainiac came down at the end of the last issue, and in this one, like, dude, they're just nailing the tone of this book so perfectly, and to not let anybody get hurt. Chris just is like, guys, I'll go with him. It's cool, whatever. Just let me ride it out. And so he leaves, and he goes on Brainiac's ship, and there's this really cool scene when Brainiac is actually shrinking him, where you just see him screaming like, and dude, it just looked like that first movie when Lois dies, and he just gives that insane yell. Like, like they just draw him perfectly. And for me, it's such simplistic artwork. I don't know how they capture everyone so perfectly, but he gets shrunk down and put in Kandor. And here's the curveball where this book is kind of getting to be itself. His parents are alive and in Kandor. So the planet was erupting. They send Clark off, and Brainiac scored his city before it blew up. Like in those final moments is when he scored Kandor. So he's actually with his parents, shrunken in the bottle city of Kandor. So that's pretty much where this issue was. We had to spend some quality time with him and his mom and Jor-El and stuff, and it was pretty cool. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really like the first two issues for like everything you said. Like, they're nailing the tone, and like it feels just like that universe. But this was the first issue where I was like, holy crap, I wish we had gotten more out of these movies, because like the idea that like he could have like met his parents again, and like we could have seen what's his name, Marlon Brando,
yeah.
So that was going to be my question.
Again.
I
like, go ahead.
My question was to the two of you then, does Jor-El and Lara, do they look like Marlon Brando and the young lady that played his mother in the first Superman movie? Like, do they have them drawn that way?
I don't think they're like nearly as close as like the Christopher Reeve Superman is, but
that's pretty
good.
You
can still tell that that's who they were going for. There's a scene where like his mom takes him to like the zoo that was on Kandor, you know? Yeah. And he's like meeting all the animals and stuff that were on Metropolis. And there's like this one that's like kind of reminds him of a cow or whatever. It looks more like an armadillo, really. But whenever he's touching it, it can like astral project the thoughts of the people that it interacts with. And so it actually shows the scene whenever he's flying with Lois. And so his mom's like, hey, who is that? You know? And so he gets to talk about. Can you
hear my thoughts? Oh, that was a monologue.
It like ties like right back into that universe, you know, and feels so much like it. I also really love what they did with Lex Luthor in this, because like, you know,
that ending.
The body language, right? Like, I totally caught it at the beginning. I was like, oh yeah, like that's so Lex Luthor. He's always like touching him and stuff, you know.
Yeah,
touchy kind of guy.
When Superman gives himself over to Brainiac in the streets, you know, Luthor is with Superman because Superman went to go get him to ask him for help because he's pretty much on house arrest and stuff, and he reluctantly said he would. So when Superman pretty much is just giving himself up in the beginning of this, and Luthor stops Brainiac from taking, wait, I'm Lex Luthor, the greatest criminal mastermind this world ever known. And I just want to tell you congratulations, because this guy's been a thorn in all of our sides. Nice knowing you, Superman. And he pats him on his back, and the first thing you think, he just put a bug on him. He just wired him or something. And come the end of the book, when everyone's mourning the loss of Superman, someone calls for Lois, and she goes somewhere, and she's like, oh, you? He's like, of course it's me, and hear me out. If you ever want to see Superman again, because I'm the only one who knows where he is. So Lex is wanting to take on Brainiac now to prove that he's better than Brainiac.
Yeah. And he wants Lois around to break the story, because he wants all the fame for being the greatest criminal mastermind.
Pure Hackman.
Awesome. Yeah.
Like, they are so nailing it. Like, I really enjoyed this one. This was the first one where I was like, oh man, I wish this was a movie, you know, like I wish we got a Superman 3 of this, you know.
It was really good. but I'm definitely going to continue to pick it up. This book is exactly what Batman 89 is not. They have completely captured the essence. They've stayed true to the whole point of this is to stay true to it, because you're trying to sell this book to fans of this. And the Batman 89, I don't know what the hell they're doing, but that is a garbage book. That first issue had a bunch of little Easter egg fan service things, but after that, it just went off the reservation, like pretty much instantly.
Yeah, I only read the first one.
Robin, because he was robbing people.
Robin the Hood.
What? You psychopath.
Yeah.
One quick thing. We didn't talk about comic news, but that is no longer a limited series.
Because of how well this has been received, they've green-lighted Ron B to come back for a 5-issue extension of this book right here. So it's going to go on a brief hiatus, 6-issue extension of this book right here. So it'll go on a brief hiatus, and it'll be right on back not long after. I think it's going on like a 2-month hiatus, it said, or a 3-month. Not long. It's not long. Yeah, it comes back in March. So we still have one more issue. So we get the November issue. So 3-4 month hiatus. And so they're going to extend it. Hopefully they'll continue to extend it. I don't know if I would want to do an ongoing or not. I'm happy with the contained, but the way that they're literally writing this like it's an ongoing anyways. Because we've had like the way that it's been structured, it hasn't just been one solid 10-issue story. So we shall see.
I mean, since this book started, there's been like, winner, chicken dinner.
Winner, chicken dinner. Jonathan, you were not here when we spun the wheel, but you are the winner of the first ever channel member Legion Loot giveaway.
Woo woo.
I'm not going to spin the wheel again. We've already done it. Just know that you won.
The only caveat is you have to send me that Run DMC card.
No worries, Chris. You have another shot to win a trade dress version of it down the road. I'm not sure when it'll go in a box, but there is one to go in a box.
So since Swamp Thing started, right, there's all these haters out there that are like, oh, seems really cool, but it should be an ongoing. Like, I'm not going to read it unless it's an ongoing. And like Rob V's been on Twitter, like, responding to these people since the very first issue saying like, no, it's on a seasonal model. So they've guaranteed me 10 issues. If they sell well, they'll give me a season 2. If that sells well, I'll get a season, they're going to keep renewing for seasons as long as it sells. And people are like, well, if it was an ongoing, I would read it, but because it's just a 10-issue limit and stuff. So I'm glad to see
it would be the only thing to keep it from being ongoing.
Right.
Good job.
Right? Like, it makes no sense to me. So I'm glad that it got renewed for a season 2. It seems like it was, that it was pretty much going to get greenlit for that season 2 out the gate. But I hope that people learn that lesson and keep buying the book regardless of how they feel about how many issues they're putting in a season, so it keeps getting renewed.
And the thing is, collectively, the three of us have always said the backbone of this current continuity, especially that we've had for 2021 when it comes to DC, is Suicide Squad. Mm-hmm. The truth of the matter is every ongoing story, most important story that's been happening for whatever month that we've had out of this year has tied into said Swamp Thing limited series. Like Swamp Thing has been across the Ron V Swamp Thing has dipped into different titles all the way through, and it's a limited series. This is a part of the ongoing continuity. You are missing out if you're not reading this. And the thing is, the current avatar of the Swamp Thing is not a likable guy. That's what makes it so damn good.
Yeah, Levi is kind of a douche.
Yeah,
that's actually how he got in this situation to begin with.
Yeah, it's the best Swamp Thing I've read since Alan Moore, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of ironic that the crappy guy is the avatar of the Green tasked with saving the planet, while his brother, who was the one that was right in the whole situation, who was driven too far, is now this evil entity that's bent on destruction.
It's actually really it's almost Shakespearean. It's really good. The overtone there.
I'm trying to remember the name of the big
and
research.
The covers have been terrific too.
Prescott.
Prescott, yeah. So the Prescott Corporation, they went and got Levi's girlfriend and brought her in, and they're trying to get her to help them out to bring Levi in so that they can get samples and test them and study them. And he was very forthcoming about it. He wasn't trying to BS her. He's like, look, you can do it all yourself. She goes, well, you just want us to do it so you can get it for weapons. Like, of course, weapons, medicine, all of that, of course, but you can head it. Like, we're not trying to just torture this guy. We legit want to get what we can from him.
Because that's her thing. Like, she's a medical researcher, and so they're like giving her the opportunity. He's like, no chains. Like, you have full command of like every resource that Prescott has is at your service, you know. And so that's what made it such a great conversation, is because it's like you can have everything you want. All you have to do is like give me the data and the information that we get off of Levi, and like kind of be the enticing thing that brings them in, you know. So
they've been riding high off for 150 plus years off where an explorer early on in America. Yeah, so like 200 plus years they've had an explorer who ran across a petrified avatar in the woods and didn't know what it was, but that sample is what they were able to do their research up until this point. They need fresh sample. They want to know what a fresh sample could take them from here. So they don't have any inherent ill will toward Swamp Thing. They just want what they want. It's not about like, we want to stop you, we want to take over the world. Like, dude, we can legitimately benefit from this. We can create medicines, we can create weapons, we can get rich, we can do all of these things. Help people, help ourselves, help you, help me. Like, they're not coy about it. I thought that was really interesting. But his plans are shot because Levi's brother showed up and just just wreaked havoc.
Which was great how it played out, you know, because before that, Levi goes to her apartment, and this, I mean, another great moment where we see like how Levi's really come into his own as the Avatar and has learned about the green and how to tap into it. He's like, finds this one flower that was untouched as like a silent witness, and just like reaches out to it and like sees like everything that happened when they took her. And then that's like the end of that. And then like, they're like, go to that scene where she's like talking with the Prescott guy, and then they're like, oh, there's green energy coming, like somebody's out there, it's probably Levi, which kind of puts you in the state like, okay, so he's about to come get his girlfriend back, you know. And then whenever it gets out there, it's like, ha ha ha, ha, you idiots, you thought it was him, he would have probably talked nicely to you. And then dude just like comes in and rips him to shreds. Oh, he was brutal. Loved it.
Yeah, the artwork in it continues to be fantastic as well. Is it Nick Spicer or something Spicer on the colors?
Mike Perkins. Oh, Mike Spicer on the colors, yeah.
Yeah. I love the color work in this, and the panel layout was exceptional when they were going through telling the history of the explorer over the years, finding it and everything. It's just an all-around good book. And
whenever Levi transforms, I love how it goes from like his green text bubbles, and then there's like the orange and green gradient, and then like as the Avatar, it's in orange again. Like, so well done. Oh, it's such a good book, man.
Romby's another one of those writers that does not miss, which was the inspiration for my top pick for this week. And if you guys haven't already watched that video, be sure after this to go over to the Comic Vets channel and find out what the top picks for these coming week is going to be. Well, and then go to your LCS. Mine's the Augusta Book Exchange. And be sure to pick those books up next week.
Somebody likes pop-ups.
Yeah, and if you get those books and they might have any minor pressable defects, be sure to hit up Justin's Comics on Instagram.
Well done. Well done. Now, if those books aren't available at the Augusta Book Exchange, where can you go to possibly find them?
Oh, you can just ask him to order you some more.
Oh, let's see.
Exchange.
All right. Try to help the kid out. All right.
But if you can't get a hold of him, be sure to check Big Time Play.
See? All right. Let's talk about Mark's pick from last week, The Dark Knights of Steel. And this is the kind of book that reminds me, like, for those of you that work in manufacturing, always wear your eye protection.
That castle was not OSHA certified.
Right.
Curveball, PPE works.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun for an Elseworld story. I thought it was a lot of fun. At first, I was kind of like, what just happened? Because Krypton blows up, and you see Jor-El and Lara send off their son. But guess what? Curveball. All three of them are in the ship when it arrives to Earth. And when they arrive to Earth, it's basically medieval times, or what seems to be. And yes, doopy-doo. And yeah, and quickly flash forward 18 or 19 years later, the House of El is now royalty in that area, and they have a castle and the whole 9 yards. And what we find out is that Batman is one of the knights, or the head knight, for the castle of El. Maybe that's how I should refer to it. And his squires, or essentially his helpers, are all the Robins. And it goes from there, where there's a magician or someone who deals in magic in the territory, and because the elves are susceptible to magic, Batman and the Robins, plural, are sent to go deal with it. Mark, you want to finish it off?
Turns out to be Black Canary. They haul her in, and even though she's not magic based, and they kind of touch on that with the elves ruling this land, there's an opposing land that it shows you Jefferson Pierce is King Jefferson, Black Lightning. In the beginning of the book, you see that they're using what is one of those people that you get them hopped up on peyote and get them seeing visions and stuff.
Oh, like a seer?
Yeah, there's a name I was thinking, but they're using Constantine as like a seer. Like remember in 300, they'd have to climb the mountain to go find the girl she can breathe in all the peyote and tell them what their future is. But they're using Constantine to try to get visions out of him and everything. So you have like this two warring factors. It looks like it's the elves and Black Lightning is the only one we've been told so far. And Ignacio says a shaman. I guess that would work too. But so it looks like the elves are just ruling with an iron fist on all people that they deem a threat. Like I don't know if they have a way to determine if they're using magic or if they're just meta. I mean, they're meta characters themselves, and they don't consider themselves magic. So I don't know what kind of metric Oracle. They're basing all of this on. An oracle. There it is.
There, frig.
There it is. But so yeah, there's rounding up people. And they kind of touch on that too. Like we're just like. They talk about how it's good that we're getting these people that can harm us off the streets. And they're like, well, we're just kind of scooping up anybody and everybody. But at the end of it, we find out that Batman and Jor-El are having a conversation because Batman was not affected by her canary cry when he should have had his head blown off. And it turns out Batman is not the son of Martha and Thomas Wayne in this. In this, Jor-El stepped out on Lara and banged up Martha. And Batman is the kid of Jor-El and Martha Wayne. So he's actually half Kryptonian. And right as he's having this conversation, Green Lantern and Green Arrow, Neil Adams' duo themselves, are conspiring way off in the way. And Green Arrow is like, I can make the shot. I just need a little boost. So they whip up a little tag team arrow action and shoot a long-range arrow right into Jor-El's eye and kill him. So Jor-El gets taken out right in the first issue. So it was pretty wicked, and that's how it wrapped up. It was very intriguing. They did a good job of laying out this new world, introducing us to a lot of characters that are known with this new sword and sorcery vibe to them. They did a good job introducing us to concepts we already know and then flipping them on their head, like the fact that Jor-El and Lara came in the rocket, that Bruce is not just a normal everyday guy. I've heard some people complain he's superpowered. That's not Batman's thing, but we've seen Batman's thing. This is a sword and sorcery book, so I think that's pretty cool. And now you've created him to be a formidable opponent for Superman down the road if need be. So
I've been waiting all week to say Jor-El is officially a Martha Fokker. All week I've been waiting for this moment.
God. Perfect. Yeah, it was a really great book. It's tied for my read of the week with that Superman Batman Authority special. It was just fun. It was so fun.
Talk about like something that knows how to bring in some levity. Like whenever Jason is like dragging the innkeeper out, he's like, I tried to like talk to him calmly. He's like, well, why is he knocked out? Well, I ran out of calm things to say. He's like, why does all of your negotiations end in somebody being comatose? I think Stephanie should start doing the talking.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of little nuggets in this story. It wasn't just like it wasn't. I want to say it was a fun read, but it wasn't like DC versus Vampires, where it was, like just a lot of little campy but serious fun. This was serious from the get go. There's a lot of different characters in a short amount of time in this book, but it flowed very well.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed the Robins. Yeah.
Yeah, this one is like so packed because like you find out that like Jefferson has his own kingdom, and Constantine is telling the story at the beginning, but it's like paralleled with Jor-El telling the story also, and like their actual dialogue, and the scribe is like writing it all out.
That's how you structure it. Death of Doctor Strange writers.
So like they really established the whole like kingdom there and all of that. The conversation with Bruce Wayne, you find out that Martha and what's his name, they were the rulers of the kingdom before the elves took over. And so that's why Jor-El feels so bad. That's why he wants Bruce to be like the king of the kingdom, is because they basically took it from them. He also addresses like, yeah, we're just like knocking people out and taking them away and hiding them away from the world because they have magic and that's our weakness. But also look at all of the technology and advancement that we brought to this world in exchange for that, And so you kind of see like that moral gray area where they're kind of defending themselves and trying to like, kind of make themselves not just out to be bad people.
The other good little small arc that was there was the love that Laura L showed towards Bruce in the King's court, basically calling him their second son, and letting him know that you don't need to speak, you don't need to bow to us, your family. And little does she know that literally he is family,
right?
Because of Jor-El being a Martha Fokker.
Do y'all suspect that Jor-El might be first-handedly responsible for the death of the Waynes? Like maybe Thomas found out what happened and a confrontation ensued that you didn't necessarily, one of those things that escalates beyond what either of them wishes it does. It's just
because he does reference like the guilt that he has hidden. So like he does reference that, like, I think he was referencing something a little deeper than just like, we basically took this kingdom from your family. I think like they literally took it from their family, and he carries that guilt. I also thought like the dialogue in the trees with Green Arrow and Green Lantern, like spot on, because he even says like, how do you know that it'll hit? And he's like, the magic will take care of that. And so again, it just like ties back into that thing, like, magic is their weakness. That's the one way through their armor. So it was just like all like perfectly layered, just like all these like little pieces of onion.
The one campy part of it though was of course the court jester.
Harley Quinn.
For the House of L was Harley Quinn.
Meaning that the fact that she is a jester, it doesn't play as camp. It just plays to the proper role. That's what you would.
Her outfit though is her original outfit. And that's the part that I thought was camp. Yeah.
Oh man, that was so cool.
Yeah. It's
I do wonder if she's going to be significant or if it's going to be one of those like Cersei or not Cersei, but what's her name? Angelina Jolie in the Eternals, where it's like you just stick out a lot because you're such a famous face at this point that like this is bad casting because it's almost distracting kind of things. Like it almost makes. I hope she's significant, so it's not just like let's use Harley Quinn because we can.
I enjoy Harley Quinn. I don't enjoy like her standalone stuff, but I enjoy her on ensemble stuff because it's one of those times when like you expect her to bring the crazy, and with a good writer, she's really enjoyable. Injustice is like the only redeemable quality of that Injustice movie.
I'll call it now. I think that I think she'll be a mole.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I'm going to call it now. Also, this is a Tom Taylor book. So I bet she dies because like
sweet Jesus, I hope so. I can't stand her.
Like people that are introduced to Tom Taylor through like Nightwing or Superman Son of Kal-El, that's not his normal pace stuff. He is like an edgy writer. He's normally pushing the envelope for the medium he's on, like Deceased, Earth 2, the Injustice comics, like all of those like heavy casualties around every corner, like pushing the limits to these characters that like inside the parameters he's allowed to work. He's like, how far can I take this? Like this far. It's like, well, how about 2 more steps? Let's do 2 more steps. That's what you normally do with this stuff. That's why I don't know, I was so attracted to his work the first time I found him. Like, dude, this is insane. This is not like the other stuff coming out. Like this is badass.
Yeah. I hope that Constantine's character goes rogue. He looks so tortured. I felt so bad for him.
He's got his abilities, but it looks like it hurts him to use them. Like he's just batty, like he's out of his mind. So there's a lot of.
I hope he goes rogue.
I also really liked Alfred in this. I thought they great job, like keeping him on character, but also like giving him these great little lines where he's like, that's the look he reserves for whenever he knows he's lost an argument.
So do you think
whenever they go in, he's like, "I'll wait here in case they escape you."
Think about it, like we saw Green Lantern, we saw Green Arrow, but like the actual formidable team that we need to see like lead the campaign against this house is not Black Lightning, but it's the Justice League Dark. Like we need to see Etrigan, we need to see Zatanna, we need to see the Demon, we need to see Constantine, Dr. Fate, like.
Yeah. Well, as Paul Rogers mentioned, we still haven't seen Wonder Woman either.
Diana has yet to show up. Mm-hmm.
Like, let's have the Spectre show up or something. Like, let's go full on like Justice
Man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be cool. Get Boston up in there, take over Superman and do work.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. What did you guys think of Newburn?
Read of the week.
Man, I really dug it. Yeah, it was.
I enjoyed it a lot. So that and Human Target were like the same book but different. Like it's a private detective book, one set in the real world with mobs, one set in the superhero world with mob, Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
What is going on, Lefty Blues?
Zdarsky is separating himself as far as I'm concerned at this point.
This is cool. This is a retired police officer who's like a mediator for the different mob families in the city. So when something happens that is involved in one of their families, they reach out to him to go in and take a look at it, assess what's going on, and come back with the information so they know how to proceed accordingly, and also keeping themselves out of so much of the limelight. So it's protecting themselves, their interests, and they can actually move forward with proper information. And it's pretty cool because he's a retired police officer and
on retainer.
On retainer, and the cops know he's working for the mob, and they allow him to do it because they know how much bloodshed it saves having him do the cases. And this book was almost handled like a single issue or single episode of a TV show where you get like a murder mystery, a middle to it, and you solve it at the end and confront the murderer. But it did it in an interesting way of like an origin story for our investigator team, basically. So a kid who was tied up with the mob is dead in an apartment. He gets caught in, he goes around, he sniffs around, he questions some people around the way. Long story short, the kid went in there looking for drugs, and it was really just a fishing operation by the neighbor who knew that the drugs and money were in there, and she was just trying to clear out and get them for herself, locate them, get them, and score on it, and he busts them all down, and he confronts her and ends up saying, that was actually smart job on your part. You can come work for me now. So it was really interesting. I highly recommend it. I'm definitely more interested in the mob aspect and how far they're going to go with that. Because this was, like I said, felt like an episode of Law and Order almost, the way that it was structured. But it was just for the sake of an origin of him and his partner, it looks like.
Right. The fascinating part that I found about Newburn himself is not necessarily that. So as soon as you hear us talk about mob, you instantly think that we're going to be speaking about the Italian mafia that's in New York City or across North America. It's in Montreal as well. But the fact of the matter is he's on retainer for all of them. He's on retainer for Chinese, Japanese, Italian. All of them pay this man for the truth, to get in there, find out what really happened, because the only thing that they'll know is secondhand information, either via cop or through the media. So he gets in there and figures it out. And not only is he figuring it out, he's going into cop shops. He's going into the police stations while people are actually under arrest and dealing with them there on the spot. So that these cops are, are on the take, just not to the point where he's on retainer. And he's not afraid to get dirty or whatever, even though he seems to be an older character, like a la, Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four, that type of aged character. but it's really smart dialogue. And the fact that the kid that gets hauled into, or the kid that gets hauled into the police station is affiliated with one of the families, I think is just fantastic writing as well. Everyone that's a part of that crime scene outside of the neighbor who he recruits to try to become his new partner or maybe assistant or obviously he's gonna have to train her up, is affiliated with one of two different warring factions that seem to be just holding the pause button right now. Like no one wants to muck it up a little bit within the families. Everyone's just trying to do their own thing. But the fact that he talks about that the Japanese, Chinese, the Italians, everyone's taking care of him because everyone wants to know the direct truth, and that he has to answer only to them, but he only has to deal with one person from each family. I thought it was really, really good. Chip Zdarsky hit a home run with this story. And the artwork too, Jacob Phillips did a great job with the interiors.
Yeah, I enjoyed the interiors, but that being said, they do give you a preview of chapter 2, and the artwork is completely different in the back, and I'm not a fan of the artwork in the back. So you can see how it goes from this art into a preview of next week where it looks like a pastel version of Firepower.
Yeah, and I wonder, if that's not, I kind of suspect that's like a flashback to the crime that's happening, sort of like a procedural where you'd see at the beginning of CSI or something where a crime happens. Okay, now we're going to get a title sequence, and then we're going to get back into our regular art with Newburn and how he's going to solve this case and stuff. Because I do agree, it felt like a procedural, and that was really cool. As far as their roles and stuff, it reminded me of Lucky Number 11 in a way. Where you kind of have where Bruce Willis is kind of brokering between the different factions and stuff.
A little bit of a fixer too.
Yeah.
So to me, it was almost like Lucky Number 11 meets Ray Donovan or something, where they're cleaning up the mess, they're fixing things and stuff like that. But it was really cool. I love the character interactions. I was surprised. Zdarsky, at least what I've read of his work, is a lot of times it's real quippy and funny dialogue and stuff. And I was surprised how kind of serious and dark this one was, but it also it felt like a home run. I loved it. I thought it was great. I'm really excited to see where the series goes from here. I thought the ending was great too, because he solved the crime, but he didn't arrest the problem. He's no, I want you to work for me. So what does that mean? What's really, how deep does the rabbit hole go as far as
remind you real quick? You forget. He's not a cop. He doesn't have to arrest murderers. That's not.
That's right.
Well,
He's just there to find out the story and deal with whatever happens.
Yeah, you would expect him to not turn them into the police, but turn her into the mafia, the mob. Hey, look, here's the person that got your son killed or whatever, but. Instead, he's no, I want you to work for me. So, how far outside of the law is he going here, Yeah. Kind of Lucky Number 11 in that sense, where he kept the kid instead of taking care of him.
I think this is his most serious writing since he did Stillwater. Basically, I guess he started that about a year ago with Ramon Perez. Obviously, we know he does a lot of stuff with Marvel, and he's still doing he's finishing up Last Ride this Wednesday with DC. And, but yeah, I kind of thought, it was my pick, and just the whole mafia angle. I was like, oh, this is just going to be great. I really hope he hits it out of the park. I had no idea it was going to be as good as what it was. And what Mark said at the top of talking about this story was, it's almost episodic. We had an entire episode in one book, and the next book is going to be, episode 2 on TV. But it's going to be completely different from what we had here. Dealing with drugs.
Another whodunit, Human Target. So Tom King has been knocking maxi series out for free with DC Comics in the past couple of years. We just had Strange Adventures wrap up. We just had Rorschach wrap up. We were a few issues into Supergirl, and now Human Target book 1 of 12 just dropped from Tom King and Greg Smallwood. So this follows Christopher Chance, the Human Target, and his whole deal is to step in when hired to take on the persona of somebody to draw out a would-be killer, attacker, assassin, whatever. And for the first time in his career, none other than Lex Luthor has hired him to fill in for him to draw out a would-be assassin. And of course, in classic Tom King fashion, you're going to get an intro and a plot twist, and you're going to get to spend a bunch of issues dissecting it and diving into it and going down the rabbit hole, which I absolutely enjoy doing with his books. Now, for a while there, he was doing that same kind of story structuring where you're dealing with a lot of flashbacks and multiple timelines at one time. But I feel like he's kind of moved away from that now. He did a few of those, and he's completely switched up his style, especially with Supergirl. I mean, that one is just stellar. And now this one looks like it's kind of following more in that vein as well. Batman Catwoman is the other one he has going on right now. I think that was like the pinnacle of multiple timelines at once in one book. So he's like, yeah, I'm just going to get it out of my system. And he's getting it out of the system with that one. And he went back to linear storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So, the whole thing is he meets up with Lex, like assassination attempt doesn't work out, it looks like, but you come to find out that he's been poisoned. And because the assassination attempt where he got shot and he's wearing Kevlar, the impact made him throw up. It actually got the poison out of his system. So the people were going at Lex Luthor from two ways, poisoning and actual assassination attempt. But the attempt is actually what saved his life or did it. Because now he's not dead yet, but he's on a time clock. He's been poisoned. So he has a limited amount of time to go solve this mystery, and he's not asking for help from anybody. But by the end of it, all fingers are pointing at the Justice League International, which for me, I thought was fantastic because in one of the comic rooms, there's a bunch of posters from like the early 90s, 80s, and even older that are laminated and cover the whole wall. And that Justice League International, it almost looks like a class photo with all of them standing there, that they redrew it in the back of this issue. The poster that I've seen my entire life from before I can remember has been up on that wall. And then they recreated it in the back of this book. All fingers are pointing at the Justice League International. I thought that was so cool. We got Brandon from the Comic Kings up in here. What is up, brother? Comic Journey Pass on Human Target. Yeah, I don't know everybody's speed, but if you like a good detective mystery story, it's right up your.
I mean, addressing the art concern earlier, like this was the exact opposite. Like, I absolutely love this art. I thought it was phenomenal, highly stylized, but it reminded me of like a very it's almost like a 70s era period piece. If it was on TV or something.
This page right here, yeah. When you said 70s, when they were going through the different days, showing you the images and just playing days one at a time with the different color palettes and everything. That was
is just great. Like, man, I could talk. This book was so good because it starts with him basically like laying there and dying, and like it's the end of the story, and then he closes his eyes, and then you get the countdown, like how many days we're moving back in time, and what happened on those different days. So you already know what to expect with each issue. I'm 99% sure that like each issue is going to be whatever character we saw in each of those panels on that issue, and it fades back, and then you get the beginning. And then you get the assassination attempt, and he stands up, hits the guy, clack, and he's like, I'm the human target, and basically explains the premise of his character, which, like, if that's how every issue starts, I'm so there for it. Like, if every issue starts with, like, whatever the job is, and then him being like, I'm the human target, this is how it works, blah, 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 and then, like, we get into it, like, I'm so down. Like, it's really cool. It feels like it doesn't feel like necessarily a 70s TV show. It feels like what you would see on like HBO or something, where they're doing like a very like period piece stylized 70s referential piece or something like that, So I thought it was really cool. I loved it. I thought the structure of the issue was awesome. And I hope that that's kind of the formula that every issue is like we get the assassination attempt or whatever, and then we get like him giving this little thing, like I'm the human target. This is how it all works.
Yeah,
boom, boom,
King
boom.
Works.
This is about to say this is how King
that's
works.
pure King.
Whether you like his writing or not, different writers for different folks. He is one of the most structured storytellers in the business. Period.
You even get the calendar at the end of the issue.
Yeah.
Day number 1 on a Tuesday.
Yep.
Like Batcat. Like it's nothing new. Mm-hmm.
I love how he like started. He's like at the beginning, whenever he's like, who schedules a press conference for 6:45 a.m.? It's criminal. And then you find out he's like impersonating Lex Luthor. Like, yep, the greatest criminal mastermind of our generation.
And I do like how he's done this with a couple books. Is how, you know, at the beginning of a book, you get an intro. It says DC Comics proudly presents, name of the book, credits. He does that at the end of his books, and he builds it into the panels. Like it, on the 9 digits on the analog phone, it says DC Comics presents, and you're like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah. Again, like I could just hear like that 70s like procedural music playing as like somebody like hits the buttons and you see DC Comics appear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely excited for the next issue. This was right on time with those other 2 ending, and yeah, it's just, I don't know. I enjoy his books. It's good to have 1 or 2 books like that on your monthly pool. That it's just a, I don't know. It's a different weight of book. You know, you don't read it when you're not. If you're trying to just burn through a book, this isn't the one. You know, when you have that moment to sit down and really just dig into a book and like take your time and look back a couple of panels as you go and stuff. And I mean, there's just a lot in it. There's a lot of little details. He's just a very
Dr. Midnight. That was great. That conversation. Yeah. He's like, I was going to send it to Batman to have it checked. He's like, don't send it to Batman. And then like he reveals more information. You find out, well, guess what? Batman's on the team of people that may have potentially done this. Like it's only this group of people, and Batman is one of those people. So like, had he sent it to Batman, we never would have got this story, you know? So I think, again, just like well played, you know, it all plays out so well.
I thought that was really, because see what Tom King's been doing too, he's been like sourcing these characters that you don't see too much of. You know, Human Target. I think the last time anyone saw a Human Target was when Fox 54 had that live action show they did back in like 2010, 2011-ish. Like Jackie Earle Haley, who plays Rorschach, was in the show as the tech guy even. But I think he popped up in 1 or 2 episodes of an Arrowverse show. You know, he hasn't been in comics much. But then, you know, we get Dr. Midnight, who's a JSA member who's not overly used, you know, doing a Strange Adventure book with Adam Strange. You know, he's doing characters that people complain that we don't see enough other sideline characters. Well, they're not out there in mass like they are in other stuff, but he dabbles in them. Like he enjoys these characters that he has more reign to stretch his wings with. But this idea sounds inspired. Tom King is always depressing to me. I have to listen to The Cure when I read one of those books. Yeah, I'm not going to argue that. They're definitely heavy. I mean, murder mysteries and like Batman Catwoman is why a relationship can't work out, you know, and Strange Adventure was like the ultimate betrayal of a husband to an entire race, you know. It's just, they're not all like poor pity me though. Like everyone read Mr. Miracle and then they like said, oh, all Tom King cares about is depression and PTSD. Well, between Crisis, Heroes in Crisis and Mr. Miracle, that's kind of what he was doing at that point, you know. I think Heroes having PTSD was something that wasn't addressed really heavily until that point, so that at the time it made sense. Mr. Miracle, I think that actually worked perfectly for that character. Like, can you escape death if you're the perfect escape artist? I mean, he finds cool angles to go about it. I wouldn't want every one of my titles to have that heavy of a tone, though. You know, Vision. I'll be honest with you, I didn't read his Vision story. Still haven't read it.
Yeah, that's one I've never read either.
He doesn't do fluff. He definitely does not. Human Target makes sense for him because it's a character a lot of people won't care if he deconstructs them. Yeah.
Well, I think it's really interesting too because that's, you know, kind of his MO, and so now he gets to take and like deconstruct Christopher Chance, but in each issue he also gets to kind of deconstruct another character. You know, like all the stuff he goes through with Lex Luthor on this about how he keeps the good stuff in his office and the way that he talks to him and stuff. Like I thought it was all just like great little insights into Lex Luthor's mentality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mars said, I love Mr. Miracle. I think it's one of the best books I've ever read, and I've read a ton. Dude, it's up there in my top 10 list for sure. Kingdom Come is still my all-time favorite. I don't think there's going to be a book that surpasses that for me personally, but it's also because I read it at such a young age. It just was mind-blowing. I'd never read nothing on that caliber at that point in my life. I'd never seen other books even look like that. Like that was my introduction to Alex Ross too. I was in like 3rd grade. It changed me. Like this is insane. Tom King Squirrel Girl.
Squirrel Girl.
That would be awesome. But y'all have anything else I want to touch on tonight? We're just we're hitting that 2-hour mark, and the times are weird these days now that everything's switched over.
Did you want to say anything about Primordial? I think y'all had read it last week, but I just got it this week.
Go ahead if you want to. This was there wasn't much to this one.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing. I really enjoyed what was there. They were still doing like all the great like panel layouts and stuff, but I think I read the whole book in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that first issue was just like so packed with content, you know. That was the only disappointing element. I still liked everything about it. It was just like, man, why was this one like so lacking in content as far as like the amount of time it took me to go through it all? I'm still interested though. I want to see where it goes
absolutely. So this issue was just getting you caught up, because in the first issue you get all the information, you get the structuring, you get the kind of figure out what this book is going to be about, and at the end of it you see that Abel and the other little monkey show up in the questionable area of alien origins, and Laika, the Russian cosmonaut dog, was up there. So we went back and you saw Laika's journey to get there, which because they didn't have any key characters for the story to frame it around, it was just straightforward, just Laika. Just like moving through space.
Yeah, it was a lot of like silent panels because you see the dog like walk through the city and stuff, but
silent panels because
the
Florentino.
But I mean, they had that double page splash where they like basically take the dog apart and like put it back together, and you're like, oh, I see the transformation here. You know, like that was like really cool stuff. You know, again, like the panel layouts are just so good.
Yeah, I'm ready to see what's going on with the like the trench coat people and the fedoras and stuff. I'm ready for some of the
Men in Black.
Yeah, the Men in Black aspect of it. The Department of Truth. I want to see what they're up to.
Yeah. We'll see if Cole shows up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oswald come walking up. That's pretty much all I got for tonight. I'm about ready to go wrap it up for the evening. I appreciate you guys hopping on. Y'all go over and make sure you follow these guys on YouTube and on the Instagrams. Chris has got videos dropping today, tomorrow, and every day thereafter. Be sure to come hang out on Wednesdays for Show Me What You Got. Every Wednesday, Chris goes live for Show Me What You Got. And we just hang out and we BS and talk about the things that we show you that we got. Yeah.
Show and tell Wednesdays.
Show Me What You Got Wednesday. It's fun to say it fast. I have a video tomorrow coming out. Some slabbages and stuff. Tuesday, I'm going to try to go live at some undesignated time of the day, just whenever the kids calm down kind of thing, and talk some DC, since it's National DC Day every Tuesday. Friday morning community hangout. Come hang out.
National DC Day.
Yeah, just National DC
for
Day.
our Canadian friends.
Internet.
I don't know what this shop does. I think they spend Tuesday busting the ice off the front door so they can get in for Wednesdays.
Digging tunnels and stuff.
Congratulations again to War Machine Punisher for being the winner of the first ever monthly Legion Loot giveaway. And if you are interested in how to get entered to win that monthly box sponsored by Big Time Collectibles, just go down below. You'll see next to the subscribe button, there's a blue button that says join. Hit that join button and you can read the little information from there. Yeah, that's it. It's pretty straightforward. Nothing to it. And that's it for the night, guys. Until next time, as always, I'm Mark, but we are Legion.